I have been trying to understand our thought process and what is making us do certain things and what is making us move away from being sane and rather choose to be insane and lose our mind and live in chaos, basically. Okay, that took a wild turn, but anyway, a lot of neuroscience, because of that, the sense of urgency to provide certain tools to people to navigate in this kind of chaotic situation is very helpful. So I've been listening to Andrew Huberman's interviews. He's done a lot of interviews in the past few months. I mainly listen to the Rich Roll's podcast, and of course he was on Joe Rogan too. So both podcasts combined, that is like about 6 hours. So I've been listening to him for 6 hours the past week, and also on repeat, because I had to listen to it at least 5 to 6 times to make sense of it and completely understand what he's trying to say, because he uses a lot of terminology that I am aware of, but also new ones that I'm not aware of. So I had to really get into it and grasp and understand fundamentally what he's trying to say and the tools that he laid out on the table and how we can use that to our benefit. Having said that, I was very impressed with his life path. I mean, starting from where he was to where he is right now is very impressive, inspiring. It's very generous of him to put out free lessons on Instagram for people like me who can't afford the time or money to go to a school to learn about psychology or neuroscience. It's very, very much of a blessing. I would strongly recommend following Huberman Lab, is his Instagram handle, where he posts a lot of small snippets and small videos of explaining how our fucking brain works. So according to Huberman, I hope I'm saying his name right, our nervous system is trying to orchestrate 5 things at all times. So first thing is the sensation, and then comes the perception, and then feelings, and then thoughts, and then finally the behavior. So in a quote-unquote normal life or normal times, our brain is behaving in a more reflexive way, meaning that you don't think about how to open a can of soda. You just open it because you know how to do that. You know how to dress up and drive a car to get to work. So it's all it's very second nature to us because we're so used to doing that, which comes with learning from a younger age or learning through neuroplasticity, and then practicing and repetition makes it second nature to us. Reflexive is the word that he used, and I immediately thought about my experience with playing badminton. So when you're playing badminton, your reflexes is one of the most fundamental skill that you need to win the game. I kid you not, sometimes from where I'm from, certain players would go out to a farm and will try to chase chickens, because a chicken runs in different direction without changing speed. So when you're trying to catch a chicken in a big pen, what happens is you learn to adopt a certain footwork and certain reflexes that becomes your sort of second nature, which you can use when you're playing badminton. I know it sounds bizarre, but people used to do that where I'm from. You need certain footwork to run inside that court, badminton court, to be in the right position, not just be precise, but also quick. So when you train your body and also kind of your mind to do certain things, it can take that kind of lesson and apply it to a different place. So from what I understand, that's what neuroplasticity is about, to just learn a certain skill and make it some sort of your just embody it in a way that you have that tool in your pocket and you can take it out and apply it to any given situation. To make any change in our behavior, we have to understand what our nervous system is trying to accomplish. So what it's trying to do, according to him, constantly, is that it's taking the perception of the outside world, of what we see, what we feel, and merge it with the perception of our internal world. To understand any such complicated physiology, I always go back to dogs, because that's the animal I can relate to more than lab rats, because I think that we can understand a lot of things through dogs, because they're everywhere. First of all, every other person you know will have a dog and they will be around a dog. There's much more possibility that you're around a dog, and it's much more easy to understand their body language and whatever. You get my point. So what does he mean by this external perception and internal perception? So when you take a very anxious and fearful dog that just gets triggered by even a subtle thing like snapping your fingers and it gets agitated or like fearful, if you take that dog and put it in a calm environment that is quiet, there's absolutely no sound, and it kind of remains in a state of being stuck, and is also has the sense of kind of an anticipation of something is going to happen, even though the environment is calm, meaning the external perception, the environment is not chaotic, it's calm, nothing bad is happening. But on the internally, the dog is having this anticipation that is inappropriate for the situation. So when you get down to its level and try to even touch it in the most subtle, soft way possible, you'll get that reaction where it's going to turn back and bite your arm. It's because it's the same sensation you get when you're watching a horror movie. When you're watching a horror movie and there's absolutely darkness and quiet, and you know that there's something going to pop up from somewhere, or there's going to be a scream or some sort of sudden movement, it's going to happen. So you are on the edge of the seat having this anticipation for something to happen and be scared or terrorized by it in a weird way. That's an entertainment, but that's the state of mind the dog is in. So it's not matching the external perception with the internal, and then it gives you that reaction that is unnecessary, which is a bite. So what do you do in that kind of situation? Like, what do you do when you're under some sort of kind of like a stress, or when you're having this kind of agitation? Well, according to him, he says that the only way to deal with that is to move forward. Like literally move forward. By now you should know I am biggest fan of Cesar Millan, the dog behaviorist. I've seen him multiple times do this to dogs that are anxious, fearful, and insecure. He puts them on a treadmill, literally makes that dog to move forward by and desensitizing that animal to sounds or to sense that anything that triggers them, because when the animal is on the treadmill, it doesn't have a choice. It has to keep moving, even though it's hearing the sound, or even though there's another dog in front of him. It doesn't matter. It has to keep moving forward. That kind of puts it in a motion, and I think what Huberman is trying to say, that when you move forward, there's a set of, if I'm right, I'm not a scientist, I'm trying very hard, there's a dopamine released, meaning your brain is rewarded by just moving forward, which means it tells you, okay, whatever you're doing is working, keep doing that. That's the signal from the brain when you get that dopamine hit. And I think similar thing is happening on that dog when it's on the treadmill and just, moving forward. Well, Caesar is like banging a plate, or like he creates all these kind of scenarios for the dog, and it just keeps moving forward. Okay, so all this makes sense, that some sort of fucked up mind or agitation or some sort of frustration will motivate us to move forward potential. But what about comfort zones? What about people who are living in their comfort zones and who are pretty happy where they are and they don't have any need to move forward? So according to Huberman, well, our brain is designed to move in the reflexive way as much as possible, meaning, don't have to think about certain things, to function as effortlessly as possible. That's what it wants to do. But he answers that with an example of an experiment done in 1960s. Now it's kind of blurry to me exactly what that experiment was about, but basically they wired someone's brain and they had different kind of a switch, I think, to trigger different kind of feelings in them. So one would be, let's say, for happiness or a sexual arousal, or like sadness and agitation or whatever. So they had this different kinds of switch, and the one that people kept going back and said that it feels good is mild anger and frustration over anything else. So from this, what he is trying to convey is that yes, you could be in a comfort zone and you could be, content, but you haven't tried this lever, or you have, what am I trying to say? But you haven't tried this feeling of mild anger and frustration. Once you feel that and it motivates you to move forward, the reward you get after that is much better than you being in content in comfort zone. If I'm right, I could be wrong. The whole video could be wrong. That's the whole point of this channel. I just want to talk. Each of us have a certain potential, right? But we're not stretching ourselves to the point where we reach our full potential. We reach to a certain level, we get to comfort zone, and we just stop. It's good if it's making you happy and you're all good, that's great. Other people have figured out, like people who are way more successful or driven, have figured out that this feeling of mild anger and frustration, or whatever the scientist is describing here, is actually good, because that is going to push you forward. That feeling of uncomfortable, the stress, is going to help your neuroplasticity to make that change and move forward, and which means you will reach your higher potential, which means you'll be making more money, you'll be much more satisfying and much more useful to the human race. I know by evolution we are designed to reach like a certain age, like let's say, like he mentioned, you reach the age 25 and then you just reach a comfort zone and you focus on your offspring, so whatever the evolutionary biological theory it may be. But that is not the case right now. We don't live in a tribe. We're part of a bigger network And so we have an immense amount of responsibility for humanity in our hands. Having said that, me personally, I do have this stress and anxiety in me constantly, and I think it's because for some reason I want to move forward and be much more useful than being progenitive. And I'm seeking that kind of feeling of fulfillment. You only get fulfillment through challenges. You will get gratitude through blessings in your life, but you won't get fulfillment from what you already have. You will only get fulfillment through challenges and overcoming them. So I think, me personally, I reached a certain comfort zone and I was not okay. It just made me feel weird. So what he's trying to say is that when you feel a little bit of stress or discomfort when you're trying something new, it's completely healthy and natural. When you feel that your next step is not to go into a lotus position and start meditating and wait for that feeling to go away, that's not going to help you. The only thing that's going to help you is moving forward, getting through that challenge, and then getting deep sleep or relaxation. Furthermore, he explains how our brain processes certain challenges or any tasks throughout the day through duration, path, and outcome. Honestly, I did not completely 100% understand that concept. From what I understand is that your brain is constantly figuring out the duration, path, and outcome to do certain tasks, or all the tasks, I don't know. The only time you're not doing that is when you're sleeping. When you're sleeping, from what I understand, your brain is kind of resetting and is changing itself in order to be prepared for the next day if something similar happens. Meaning, let's say you're trying to learn to ride a bike. So you rode a bike, you're facing some challenges, you're kind of balancing, but you're falling off. When you're resting, your brain is not thinking about anything else. So it's kind of resetting. This neuroplasticity is happening in our brain. It's kind of understanding the challenges you went through the day, and it wants to get better the next day. So it's kind of almost like a mechanic in our brain is going and fixing and rewiring things to make it better for the next day when you're trying to ride a bike. So every day you start getting better and better. And according to this scientist, he's saying the deep sleep or deep relaxation state of mind is going to help you with your neuroplasticity, which is like, it's going to help the little mechanic neuro atoms in your brain to go and say, hey, wait a minute, today we tried to ride a bike and it didn't work out. How about we try this? And there's some sort of thing going on. I imagine it as some sort of discussion happening in there, and it's like, we need to change this. We need to balance our body this way. And it's something is happening when you're sleeping, is what I understand. I again go back to dogs. So there was this one episode, I need to look up, wait, hold on. The Dog Whisperer show. There was this episode, the 10th episode in season 4. This canine's name was Gavin. So this Labrador had severe PTSD like symptoms. Like it would just shut down every time it hears a thunderstorm or any kind of sharp noises like shooting and anything like that, just like a human would. I see every single step that Cesar Millan took for that dog relate to what Huberman is trying to say. For the sake of science, even if you don't like dogs, I want you to watch that episode. So what he practices is he brings that dog into the most deep, relaxing state of mind. He takes it to the swimming pool. He tries to cool the dog off, makes the dog float in the water. He tries acupuncture on the dog, and you can see the dog going to deep relaxation after that acupuncture, and it's letting go of all that trauma and everything, and is getting ready for the change that it needs to make, or the brain needs to make. And very interestingly, just like Huberman, Cesar Millan creates this virtual reality trailer for the dog, where it has a treadmill in the center, and it has like rain like shower thing that's on the side, and there's like a video of like explosions happening, and there's firework sounds and things, and there's a treadmill on the center. So what he makes the dog do is walk on the treadmill while everything is going around, like the sound, the lights and things, and he's making the dog move forward. And that's kind of fascinating to see that a dog behaviorist had figured it out. When Huberman was talking about all these kind of different research papers, experiments, and he's talking about different evidences for these kind of theories, all I could think about was Gavin the Labrador, and it just blew my mind. If you want to understand exactly what Huberman is trying to say, if you watch that episode, you can see everything like in effect and working, and how that dog gets rehabilitated. I just think that we already knew these fundamentals, right? We already knew what works in a very instinctive way. But this man has come and surfaced at the right time. And like I mentioned before, he also posts videos on Instagram educating everyone about this, which is amazing, because somehow along the way we have forgotten how to live like David Goggins, because we refuse to believe that we have more potential. And people like David Goggins, Jocko Willink, and all these kind of hardcore Navy SEAL people have been through that kind of level of stress and trauma, and they put their life in line, and they take that kind of tools that they learned and apply it in real life, which makes their potential to go like way more higher. Because like I said, you learn from something like chasing the chickens and you apply it while playing badminton. These guys have learned, somehow figured out to survive the buds, and they take that lesson to face any sort of disturbing, traumatizing challenges in their life. He is here at the right time to remind us all to, with the scientific evidence, to cut down the noise and bring our focus to our internal self for the betterment of humanity. Yeah, that's what I think. And thank you for just being there, like just existing. You're amazing. I love it. And we just gotta keep going forward and just keep exploring our neuroplasticity and just expanding it as much as we could, stretch it as much as you can, and just challenge yourself on an everyday basis. That's what we're gonna do. That's what is important. And also to remain balanced by working to be appropriate with our internal pulses, with the external pulses, so that people don't think we're insane, to control our stress level, and to recognize the levels of stress that is needed to motivate and to disregard the unnecessary negative energies and so on and so forth. So yeah, awesome stuff, great tools. He talks a lot more that I haven't talked about. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm gonna put all of the links in the description, including, I hope I find Gavin's episode somewhere. If I do, I'll put it in the description. Yeah, so it's very inspiring. I felt really good learning about what he has to say. All right, see you soon. Peace.